transitioning from classical singing to musical theatre or contemporary singing. For the sake of this tutorial, to save time, I'm going to include MT, musical theatre, and contemporary singing together. So when I say contemporary, I also mean musical theatre. Now, I've been singing since 1999 and I started teaching in 2003. I actually started as a contemporary singer singing pop and rock and soul songs, and then I went to musical theatre. I did some stage work, and I then studied classical music for 3 years before coming back to pop, to contemporary rock, soul, indie, grunge, and musical theatre. So I've kind of done a circle and then a circle back, right? So I understand all of the different nuances, the elements, and how frustrating and confusing it can be when you're changing styles. Over the past few years, I've helped dozens of classical singers to make the change from classical to contemporary singing. And if that's what you're looking to do, then you're in the right place. So classical singing is a really, really good and strong foundation for contemporary singing. So you've probably got very good support, very good breath control, although the breath control is slightly different. You're probably already very musical, and it's likely that you've got a lot of vocal stamina and a healthy voice, which is very, very important. Now, the main difference between classical and contemporary, as you may already know, is that we shift from more, from the placement or the sound kind of resonating kind of back here to being much more forward. Now, of course, in the higher notes, you may be resonating forward here, but what we want with contemporary singing is a much kind of brighter, buzzier kind of sound. We have lots of different textures, and then we can also add effects like growl, rasp, scream, distortion, and those take place in rock singing for sure, some gospel and soul, and some pop singing as well. So singers like Christina Aguilera, Jessie J, Bruno Mars, they add these types of effects as well, that kind of that kind of sound. In rock, we have the kind of kind of sound, and we also have the growl, the kind of sound that we don't get in classical singing. So before you can get to any of those, you must be able to master this forward placement. Now, the full transition can take about 6 to 12 months, and that's dependent on where you're starting from and where you want to go. So I would recommend allowing, although it might be quicker, allowing about a year if you're transitioning from professional classical music to contemporary professional music. And of course, it also depends on the different stylistics of the different genres. So if you want to go full rock, adding all of the screams, distortions, and all of that kind of stuff, then it's going to take a little bit longer than if you were going into like soft rock or jazz or even folk music. So as I mentioned, the different genres have different stylistic and nuanced qualities. So in the main, pop singing is done in the mask. There are some singers like Sam Smith, Ellie Goulding, Billie Eilish, who use much softer sounds, so much more head voice. I used to float, now I just fall down. So that would probably be much more accessible to you than the more masky Beyonce type singing. And if you're going for punk, grunge, hard rock and metal, then we have a very, very, very forward placement, and then we have the raised larynx to create the twang. So that creates that kind of that kind of sound, okay? And also the breathing is slightly different. So we don't have so many long notes, we don't have so many long phrases, and of course we're not using vibrato on every single note. Now, for singers who have been singing classical for a very long time, I have noticed that a lot of classical singers and even some MT singers are not really sure where they're creating the vibrato. And so it can be very difficult to control that and to stop it happening on every note. Now, we do have singers who have transitioned like Kelly Clarkson and Charlotte Church, who do still have a very light vibrato on almost every note that they sing, but it's not quite so significant and prominent as it would have been when they were singing classical. And so for you, if you're not quite sure where your vibrato is made or how you're creating it, then I would recommend just taking some time to feel into your body a little bit more and really notice what's happening when you sing, so that when you come to reducing that vibrato and having more control over it, it's much easier for you to access. Now, another thing that I've come across a lot is that it can be quite difficult to create that depth of sound, especially if you're a soprano. So I've found that a lot of soprano classical singers do find it difficult to then access their chest voice and create more of that mix that we need in contemporary singing. So of course we do a lot of mixing in classical singing, but if you're a soprano and you want to access more pop, rock, soul, particularly soul sounds, soulful sounds, we do really want to access that chest voice. So if you've spent your life with your voice sitting kind of above the notes to make them slightly lighter and not so heavy, it can be really frustrating and confusing to try and create that depth. And also, you're used to sounding beautiful pretty much all the time. And the sounds that we use in contemporary singing are not necessarily that beautiful. We've got sounds like me, ah, ah, hey, for rock singing. For soul singing, it is rounder, and for jazz and gospel, it is rounder. Whoa, whoa. So it's not quite as beautiful. Well, not beautiful at all. But then when you put it into a song, it does sound much more authentic. It doesn't sound quite so strange. It can take some time to get used to not sounding pretty and beautiful all of the time. So if this is helping you, remember to hit like if you haven't already, hit subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I will be putting out some more videos about changing from classical to contemporary singing so that I can help you guys. Now, the main thing to consider is keeping your voice healthy, and as a classical singer, that is probably going to be front of mind for you a lot of the time anyway. But what's great about learning the different types of techniques and the different styles of singing is that it gives you so much versatility. And as an artist, and especially if you're a singer-songwriter, this is really going to help your creativity. So you can start to write based on the different sounds that you can produce, or you can create different sounds based on what you're writing. So there's lots of chances for, producing different sounds, for trying out different things, and exploring your voice is going to be a lot of fun. So my main takeaways are creating texture, the different types of placement. I haven't already said this, but it's in my notes here. The different laryngeal positions. So we can create different sounds by changing not just the placement, but the position of your larynx as well. It's really fun going through that and exploring that. Understanding the different stylistics. So rock singing is usually much higher and much more forward. Not always, but usually. Soul and gospel is usually much lower, warmer and rounder, even though it's still placed forward. Jazz is much more neutral, and you can have a brighter or a darker sound. Pop is usually masky, but we do also use a lot of head voice in pop, and the same in R&B. So pop and R&B sounds can be a little purer. We have more clarity, and then in the other types of sing and in jazz as well, and in soul, gospel, and rock, and all of those derivatives, we can create much more texture and use the different kinds of effects. Now, if you are considering shifting from classical to musical theatre, folk or contemporary singing, and you would like some help, and you would like that help to be from me, then book yourself in for a consultation. The link will be in the pinned comment or in the description. That's a 30-minute session. We'll spend some time together just chatting about where you are now, what your goals are, and I'll listen to your voice and I'll let you know how I can help you. Now, this is for serious singers who are either professional or semi-professional or aspiring professional and semi-professional singers. It's not really for hobbyists. I don't really work with hobbyists. I'm pretty much fully booked a lot of the time and I don't really have the capacity. So that's why I'm creating these videos for you guys. So if you are going to get in touch and book yourself a consultation, I look forward to meeting you. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next video. Stay hydrated. Ciao!